As part of this 2018 PC build that a couple of videos I'm doing on that at the moment, I thought I'd be fairly remiss if I didn't show you the PC itself. So this is it. It's been built. It's working at the moment. It's doing its job. Firstly, let's look at the case. It's the Corsair Graphite Series 760T full tower windowed case, and looks awful on this because I've got a light shining on this because I'm going to have to light up the insides. This is in situ, as I say. It's actually in its place where it is, hence the cables, the sound cards sat on top of it, which means I can't have ventilation coming from the fans that are at the top of the case. But that's just the I haven't got anywhere else to put it, so I have to do that. The window, the glass, not glass, it's like plastic acrylic stuff at the side, is really nice, but only if you haven't got kind of window light shining on it. So if it's tucked away in a corner, it looks great. But as soon as you've got any kind of light, all you can see is just a ton of dust on this. It looks awful with a ton of dust on it, and it gets loads of dust on it. It's ridiculous. The bits on the front here, let me just, if I can show you this. I don't know how well I can show you this. But you've got your kind of main power button here, and then you've got 4 USB ports, 2 USB 2 and 2 USB 3. And then you've got some audio sockets as well, which can be useful for some people. I suppose not for me. Round the front, you've got 2 160mm or 140mm, I think they are. No, 140mm fans, intake fans that are lit with red LEDs. Wonderful. But the thing I love about this case is that the whole side opens up like this. So it is really nice and easy to access. Same on the other side, but it's just not windowed. And so let's take a look at the components that are in here. Firstly, the graphics card. This is the GTX 1080 Ti here. Just one. I haven't got any kind of SLI configuration. And that was a part that came over from the old PC. The power supply also came over. This is the Corsair HX1200i. The fan is underneath and draws air, so there's a gap under here. It draws air up and exhausts it out the back. So that's kind of self-contained cooling in a way. It does get pretty warm with the load of this PC, but nothing too excessive. Hard drive wise, well, my spinning hard drives here are just a couple of kind of, I think it's a 2 terabyte, maybe a 3 terabyte and a 1 terabyte or something. Just 3 old drives here. Mixture, Western Digital, probably, I think most of them are Western Digitals there. And they sit nicely in this caddy, and they're also cooled by this intake fan here, so that sort of drives air across the drives continuously, and the other intake fan is free to drive air across the graphics card a little bit, because graphics cards have a tendency to get extremely hot, particularly the 1080 Ti when it's at full load. It's ridiculous how hot those things get. This bit here can be taken out, but I haven't done that. I haven't got any drives in here at all, no 5.5 inch drives at all. And then separately, they have caddies for SSD drives. So there's a couple of caddies on there. I've only got one in here, and it's a SanDisk 256 gig, just an Ultra Plus. Just one that was previously being used as my operating system drive on my old PC. This is now just a drive that I use for kind of just temporary files and stuff, nothing more than that. Just a kind of fast-ish drive to write to for temporary files. CPU-wise, well, sorry, I'll talk about the cooler first. So this is the Noctua DH15 cooler, and it hasn't got the second fan on it. And the reason for that is, I don't know if you can see here at the side, I've got an M2, I've got an NVMe M2 drive mounted. How can I make that a little bit clearer? I'm just going to have to zoom in on. So let me zoom in, and I'll show you what I mean. So this NVMe drive there is blocking the second fan from being installed. So I can't install that on there, but to be honest, it doesn't make that much difference. So, you're talking a couple of degrees, and this fan does the majority of the work, pulling the air in here through this radiator and exhausting it out the back, and then the final fan to pull the air out the back. What else do we have? Okay, memory-wise, well, it's got a 64 gig of Corsair Vengeance LPX memory, so C16 kit of 4 times 16 gig, and there's just 2 there, and then 2 either side of the cooler there, if you can see those clearly. The motherboard is an Asus so it's an X299 socket, and it's the Prime Deluxe motherboard, a very nice motherboard, and certainly probably one of the nicest and most expensive that I've ever bought. And it's a bit overpriced, I would say. The X299 slots are kind of expensive. The boards that you need for those are pretty expensive, but so far it's been so reliable. Everything I've asked it to do, it's done wonderfully well, and I've had absolutely no problems with it. So I've always used Gigabytes in the past, and I am converted because this has been a great board. Don't know what their sort of lower end stuff is like, but I'm sure it's equally as good. And you can see that I've got I've got this camera's quite big here, so I'm kind of a bit stuck for space. Yeah, you can see just about here that I have ATX 12 volt coming in there, but also there. So I'm taking that in twice onto the motherboard, as well as my main ATX socket. So I've got enough outputs out of the back of the power supply there to allow me to do that. You don't need to take that in twice. You can do that just on the 4-pin. You don't need to do that second kind of 2-pin there, but it is recommended particularly if you're sort of draining a lot of power. And the CPU on this board certainly does. CPU-wise, it's 7960X, so that's 16-core, 32 logical core processor from Intel. And what else do we have? Well, I've got my capture card in there as well, an old Elgato capture card. Oh, this came across from the other PC too. Oh yeah, underneath here is my main SSD drive, which is the Samsung 960 Pro. This one is this one's a 970 Pro, so that's the kind of newer version of that, and that's just a drive that I use for storage and games and all sorts of stuff. But the actual main operating system drive is the one sat under the heatsink here, and that's the 960 Pro, NVMe 960 Pro. So that's about it, really, isn't it? I think. Yeah. They're cool. The temperature. Oh, the overclock. I've got my CPU currently overclocked. I've achieved a nice stable overclock using air cooling. I didn't want to go down the liquid cooling route, even though it would look a lot neater and nicer. I'm not too bothered what my PC looks like. But the air cooling is super quiet. The PC is lovely and quiet. And the case does allow you to ramp it up into what they call performance mode, which I'll just do now if you see whether you can hear it or not. Hold on. You probably won't be able to because you put the camera in the PC. Yeah, not sure if you're able to hear the difference there, but it makes absolutely no difference to the temperatures. The fact that you've got two fans bringing air in here and one exhausting it out keeps the airflow perfectly fine for my needs. Yeah, that's about it. So that's the build that I've done, and so far so good. Oh yes, I was going to say overclock-wise, I've set the processor to 4.2 gigahertz across all cores, at a voltage of 1.1 volts, and that is running perfectly fine. And I'm achieving idle temperatures of about 39 degrees, and the temperatures do go pretty high when it's being utilized 100%, but never any higher than about 85, 90. TJ Maxx on this CPU is 105, I think. So yeah, this Noctua does keep it fairly cool. Hard to tell at the moment because our weather's so nice here at the moment that the temperature inside, the ambient temperature, is about 27 degrees, which it would never normally be here in the UK. It's a bit unusual. Anyway, there we go. There's a look at the insides of the PC and the parts. I'll list all the parts below in the description, and feel free to take a look at any of them. I might not be able to list all of them because I don't really know what these are anymore. I can find out, but they're all pretty old drives, so nothing terribly of interest there. I think the things of interest really are the memory, CPU, cooler, graphics card, power supply, and that type of thing. Thanks for watching. See you soon.